All right, so we're going to talk about social housing now, transit, and Ontario Works. Between the three of those projects, there are the three of those channels of city expenditure. We have about $67.2 million being spent annually. That's a humongous number. That is the total cost of the Gretzky Sports Center renovation project. So imagine another one of them being built, and you have 11 million, a significant amount of millions of dollars left over annually. So that's a huge, huge investment. And are we getting good value for it? I don't think anybody, if you compare those two things, I don't think anybody's going to say that we're getting a good return, let alone any kind of good value from that investment and how it's currently being spent. Social housing has a net expenditure. I assume they get to that number by deducting the rent from their expenditures to get a net cost of $9 million. But still, though, over 10 years, that's $90 million. $90 million. You'd think that we would have, solved the problem of social housing if we have $9 million being spent annually in over 10 years, $90 million being spent in over 20 years, $180 million. Huge amount of money. What the hell is going on with that? I think a great way to change how we deal with social housing and low-income housing is by selling off some of our older units. I've worked in them and performed maintenance on them, and I can tell you that they're not particularly well built. From a compared to most residential homes, I don't think you'd find the quality as nice in there. And because of that, they're such a maintenance and perpetual maintenance project, and that's not creating a lot of value for anybody. It's a real waste, and the people that tend to live in those places, sure, there's some nice folks, but the majority of them don't treat them really, really nicely. A, because they don't own them, and B, because, there's not much of an incentive to. So, they break. They're breaking often, and there's no strategy to get out of it. So my position would be, why don't we sell them? Why don't we give some of our best tenants, because there's great people. There's great people that have been dealt a lousy hand, that are living on disability, that, single mothers on welfare, that are living in perpetual poverty because of how our rules are set up. They're not set up for you to get out of poverty. They're set up for you to stay in poverty. Right? Look at the results we're getting. We're not getting less people in Ontario Works. We're not getting less people in social housing. Those numbers are increasing. So if you and I are going to be paying for it, why don't we look at ways to make those costs as low as they possibly can be? The phone's ringing. I'll answer it later. It's going to pause it, but this is important. There you go. You'll even find out who's calling right now. My Siri. Look at that. That replaced an operator from 50 years ago. Hopefully that's done now. Anyway. My goodness. Anyway. So, these perpetual maintenance projects can also be looked at as handouts to big corporations. I mean, if you get a huge housing contract as a property management firm that's going to be perpetual rent, that's great, especially when it comes from government. And we see how it's being run. We know that it's not going to be taken over or anything like that. We know that that need isn't reducing, it's increasing. So we can look at that as a perpetual, again, perpetual poverty, and who benefits, and it's not going to be the people that are paying for it, like most taxpayers are not going to get a reduced tax payment, and B, it's a handout to some big corporations, or can be a big handout to big corporations. Now, I'm not saying that that's always a bad thing. I think that competition for who can manage the property the best is generally a good thing. But I think that we should still look at reducing the need to have those kinds of things. Anyway, and I think that we can do that by selling off some of our inventory to our lowest or to our best tenants, and that would reduce that need. From a transit perspective, most people that are getting those kinds of handouts are also using the bus system. People can walk and bike and bus and maybe drive a car. If you have a car, you're not really interested in this. But the busing system, again, it's $10.2 million annually, or our transit system is $10.2 million annually. After we deduct our income from it, we're at $5.5 million, still being paid for by taxpayers. Now, if we've gone down the route for the last couple of years of trying to get people to get on the bus, use the busing system, and it hasn't been working, we should try a new strategy. Most people that take the bus, their only real complaint is that the times are quite far apart, and they just don't prefer to ride it. My answer to that is, well, you're getting a huge subsidy to get yourself around. I don't think the answer is more buses, because then that's higher taxes or higher user fees, and nobody seems to want either of them. So we should look at ways to plan our city around reducing the need for busing and for our transit system, because it's not profitable. The downtown YMCA, great project, but most people complain about the grocery store taking their big bulky groceries home. You're not walking down the street for like 7 or 8 blocks with a case of Coke. It's too heavy, and by the time you do that, it's all shaken up. And the same thing on the bus. If you got to be there for 40 minutes, get a transfer, it's not as good as it could be. So what we should do is build some low-income housing, or have some low-income housing project that's near a grocery store. And I think that the downtown is again really ready for that kind of project. We've talked before about people that are used to living in basements. The price for parking your car monthly, which is the only thing that is underground, is $45 a month. So if we know that somebody's willing to pay $350 a month to $450 a month for something that's underground, why don't we look at increasing those spaces? We could have a lot more income and reduce our need for massive expenditures on social housing if we make more efficient and effective solutions to the problem. I mean, just now, right? We look at the concept of the Murphy bed, or having a moving wall in your home. A Murphy bed being, it's a bed on a lever, basically, right? So when you're sleeping on it, it's down. And then when you're done with it, you put it up, and now you have increased living space. And moving walls. I mean, why not have a 3-room, right? 3 rooms, 1 definite bedroom, and another moving wall, maybe for the kids' space or whatever. and say, so instead of having the need for 2 full bedrooms, what we could do is put the Murphy bed concept in with this moving wall that when it's out, okay, it's out here, and now we have our bedroom, right here. Or, yeah, the bedroom is the left is my head here. And then when it's daytime, we say, okay, time to put the bed away. Then we're going to go like this. And now, on this side, we have increased living space. So, we can really reduce the footprint and the cost of having these low-income apartments significantly, because we've just lowered their footprint and the overall size of the apartment, so we can increase the density, and that's a good thing. That really is a good thing, because if we leave more money in people's pockets when they're on Ontario Works, then they're going to spend it. That's what people with low incomes tend to do. They tend to be in spending a lot of money. Look at Tim Hortons. Look at the amount of people that are on Ontario Works that have enough money to buy a cup of coffee from Tim Hortons. So we know that they're willing to buy stuff. So from my opinion, from a taxation point of view, we should look to reduce our social housing costs. We should give people an opportunity that are in poverty now to get out of it by selling off some of our most suited assets, our most suited homes, and reducing the need for transit so it's not so much of a lag on our balance sheet. If we did that right in the downtown, again, we would increase bodies to the downtown. We'd probably have more traffic at our soon-to-be YMCA and our existing library, as well as, right near a grocery store. And the walk score, real estate agents, that's a big part of selling condos, definitely in Toronto, but it's coming here. You see it on the, for buying properties in the downtown. They have the walk score there now. If we make that really high, we can reduce costs all across the board. That's what I'm pretty sure anybody that's watching these videos wants, to pay less in taxes, or if they have to pay for taxes, they want to be sure they're getting good value. And those are the kinds of ideas I have, and the kinds of, really my philosophy of saying, well, if this isn't working, how do we change? What do we do to reduce the price? How do we make sure we're getting good value? And I think those are some pretty powerful concepts, and I hope that you all enjoyed the video. So thanks for watching. Please like and share. Dave Swanson for Ward 5. Bye-bye.